Welcome to another Retro Core, and today we are taking a look at a game that I personally can't stand, but I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment on the game. We'll be taking a look at how all the ports compare to the Amiga original. James Pond II, codename Robocod, also known as Super James Pond, was first released on the Amiga in 1991. The game takes place immediately after its predecessor. Although Acme Oil Company has been destroyed by James Pond, Pond's archenemy, Dr. Maybe, survived and has retreated to the North Pole, where he has taken over Santa's workshop. Dr. Maybe is holding Santa's workers hostage. In most versions of the game they are penguins, in some they are elves, and has turned many of Santa's helpers into his own twisted and dangerous assistants. It's up to James Pond to infiltrate Santa's grotto, free the captives, retrieve the stolen toys for the children of the world, and defeat Dr. Maybe once and for all. This time, however, due to the greater risks involved in the mission, Pond is given a robotic suit and the codename Robocod, a play on Robocop. This suit gives Pond superhuman strength and agility, as well as enabling him to stretch his midsection almost indefinitely and reach otherwise impossible high areas. Now, as you can see, the base Amiga game is a very colourful one and, dare I say, quite an impressive looking title. Multi-directional scrolling that works quite well, nice translucent effects on objects and parallax scrolling. Even the audio isn't offensive. The tunes are, but that's a different thing. This is the AGA version of the Amiga game. This came out a while later but does feature more stages and so-called improved graphics. Personally, I don't think there's that much of an improvement over the base Amiga version. The main game graphics look very similar, if not the same, while the backgrounds have some added colour or gradient effects. Some look nice while others look worse. One point that is instantly noticeable though is just how smooth the AGA version scrolls. The base Amiga version could get a little choppy when scrolling downwards. There's none of that in the AGA port. Next up we have the Atari ST port. Boy, we can see the ST was struggling at this point in time. What a half-assed effort of a port we have here. Not only do we have a game that plays in a tiny window, but also a game which moves like an MSX1. The scrolling on this port is terrible. That alone is enough to make the game unplayable, but it gets worse, because we also have to contend with ultra slippery controls. So yeah, this is one very poorly playing game. Some may say it's a very poorly sounding game as well. Okay, time for some consoles, starting with the Mega Drive. Now let's be honest, this doesn't look as nice as the Amiga version, does it? In fact, the colours used are rather dark and unappealing. It could be argued that the audio is better, but again, that's not too difficult considering how basic the audio is on the original. Gameplay wise, the Mega Drive plays just like its Amiga big brother, but that doesn't mean it's a great game. Following on from the Mega Drive port, we have the Super Nintendo version, and this may just be the best of the bunch. As we can see, it is more detailed than any version so far. It has the gradient backgrounds from the Amiga AGA version, it's got more parallax than other versions, and it also has more slowdown. Oh wait, that's not a good point. Well, that's okay since it doesn't happen that often. I'd even say that this SNES port handles better too, with less sliding about and jumps that feel like they've got a bit of weight to them.
Waves, Pond's sharp shooting and lightning reflexes never let him down. No mission is impossible for Pond, but he'll have to be quick off the draw to defeat his arch enemy, Dr. Maybe. Get ready, James Pond is back.
The Amiga CD32 port is just the Amiga AGA version, however it does have a few improvements besides the crappy FMV intro. Now we have a button to jump, which helps greatly with later stages, and there's also a CD soundtrack. So nice to see effort being made in the audio department. I bet you were not expecting this. James Pond 2 on the Commodore 64. The game was to be released on the regular bog standard Nintendo, but it was cancelled, yet the C64 made it. Bizarre. So how is this version? Well, not too bad. It has reasonable graphics, parallax scrolling and good audio. Plays well too. I am puzzled to why there are licorice all sorts everywhere when the sponsor of this game is Penguin Biscuits, but hey, I guess they had more than one sponsor. The Master System port was developed by Text, and of course they effed it up, as they always do. The controls in this version are extra slippery, making an already slippery game even worse. Most of the stages are missing too. The first door you enter only has one area, for example. If the controls were less slippery, this may have been worthwhile, but as it is, I'd pass. Now this is an interesting one. You'd expect the Game Gear port to be the same as the Master System game, but in actual fact, it's far better. Graphically the game uses more colour than the Master System, has nice parallax scrolling, but sadly is missing vertical resolution, and that really hurts the game. I wish this wasn't the case because the Game Gear port controls really well compared to the Master System game. Sadly, the lack of vertical resolution results in the player having to do many blind leaps of faith. This alone ruins the game. Such a shame too. Game Boy time, and yet another port by a British studio that isn't known for great games, and yep, it shows right here. Game Boy James Pond is a jerky mess of a game. Well, maybe that's a little strong, but it's by far not a good port. Everything just feels wrong, and looking at the screen while it's in motion is nauseating. If you must play the original James Pond 2 and not the remake in portable fashion, go with the Game Gear port. And let's end with the MS-DOS version. As you can see, this is based upon the Amiga AGA release and is just as good. Getting it to run on a modern PC is a little tricky when it comes to the audio, so I've had to dub over the music from the Amiga CD32 game. Better than no sound at all, which is how I had to play the game. And let's take a look at all those versions of James Pond II, Robocod running side by side.